Rob.
Tony.
And I'm Jeff.
We're in gaming.
And that's you.
Hello gamers and welcome back to the And I'm Rob.
I'm Tony.
And today we're going to be going over some more exciting new cards coming to us.
So exciting.
Into the
So.
Whispers of the Old God. So our first card, how you doing, is the Infest.
This is like the worst one.
Okay, it does get better, guys. So he's a 4-drop, 2/3, taunt, death rattle, summon a 2/2 slime. There's a lot of debate whether that 2/2 slime had taunt. It does not.
No, because it would say, like on Sledge Belcher,
they actually
that it would
had
have
to
taunt.
They actually had to specify that it did not have taunt on Twitter and on Reddit because people were like, "Well, if the slime has taunt, it's potentially it's a lot better." Actually.
Then it would be a pretty solid. It would probably be a pretty solid replacement for Sledge Belcher.
No, I think it would. It's never going to be a Sledge Belcher.
I
But
mean,
if the slime did have taunt, yes, it stops those.
it's still a 2-turn stall.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes it better if that slime has taunt, but I don't think it makes it better to
doesn't.
the point of seeing it's going to see a dramatic amount of play in like an increase in play if the slime had taunt versus not play. I just don't see this.
It'd be better in Arena. It's like okay.
You're
in
spending
Arena.
a 4-drop, and this 4-drop can't even kill most 2-drops.
No.
Like, what about a Flame Juggler? It's a 2/3. So if you're going to swing this twice in a Flame Juggler, you basically spent 4 mana on a card that can't kill a 2-drop off the bat. I just don't see how
And
that's
stat-wise, even with the drop, it's essentially a Yeti with taunt.
Yeah, I just
And
don't.
not even as good. Yeah,
I
it's,
just don't feel it.
no,
All right.
Not at all.
Next card, Doom.
Doom. A lot of controversy over this card. A lot of people.
What's going on? What are the stats? What does it do?
Oh yeah, we should probably explain that. 10 mana, destroy all minions and draw a card for each. Destroyed. So, Twisting Nether with lots of card draw, potentially. I kind of have mixed emotions about this though, because yes, it's pretty nice and clear, it can draw you cards, but you're literally wasting an entire turn that you can't develop, you can't pass, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a Warlock, you're going to be your passive is to draw anyway, so I don't know. If you're behind in the fatigue game, this could seriously hurt you, because you could draw more cards than you can handle, and then you're behind in fatigue, and then if it goes late game, you get super fucked. I don't know. It's interesting.
And by behind in fatigue, he means overdrawing to the point where you're going to reach fatigue faster. Fatigue is when you no longer have any cards in your deck, and then you start taking damage in replace of cards that you would normally draw. So if you think about Doom, you look at it. You can't play it till turn 10 anyway. So turn 10.
Is this mine?
No, that's my water. So you can't play it until turn 10, which means it's pretty late in the game already. You're playing a Warlock class, and as we know, Warlock's passive is basically draw more cards. So
Card draw is never usually issue for them.
So it killing all the minions and drawing a card for each doesn't really help you too much, as the late game drawing a ton of cards doesn't make a significant difference, especially if you're playing, let's say, a priest or playing against a priest or a warrior, where hitting 5 turns ahead in draw is not the best thing because you're going to fatigue out quicker, like Tony mentioned. So I don't see why you would play this over Twisting Nether. And on top of that, Twisting Nether costs 8, so you can actually play it 2 turns prior. If this said maybe it transforms all minions into something, then kills them, that has the potential to stop, let's say, death rattles that are out on the board that could get an effect. So it'll nullify those. But the fact that it just kills everything, just like Twisting Nether, and then you draw...
Silence all minions, destroy all minions.
Yeah, silence
that would
all
be interesting.
Yeah, so if this actually said silence all minions, destroy all opponents' minions, I think it actually could see play. It probably still wouldn't even say a ton of play if it was still destroy all your opponents' minions. It's like a Regeki in fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! If you guys remember that shit. So I mean, I don't see Doom's getting a lot of play, to be honest. If you're gonna play Doom, you might as well just play Twisting Nether. It's a better card, and if Emperor hits Nether, it costs 7.
And you can still play a 3-drop.
And then you can go ahead and play a 3-drop if it's turn 10 or a 2-drop if it's turn 9.
Twisting Nether fucking shredder if you have both in your hand on M.
Yeah, so I really just don't see Doom beating out Twisting Nether on the destroy all minions part. All right, so the next card is Tentacle of N'Zoth. Did I say it right? Hell yeah. So this is, all right, so we'll trade off. I'll do one, you do one, I'll do one, you do one. So
Okay.
I'll hit this one, you'll grab the next one. So it's a 1/1 for 1 death rattle, deal 1 damage to all minions. So as we know, Unstable Ghoul, this is just the first thought what comes to my mind. Unstable Ghoul came out of Naxxramas. As we know, Unstable Ghoul deals 1 damage to everything on the field. It's a 2-drop, it's a 1/3 with taunt. So they took away the taunt, they took away some stats, but they gave it a 1 reduced cost mana, and then they kept the death rattle, deal 1 damage to all minions, and Unstable Ghoul is found in the patron deck. So I think the Tentacle is actually going to find its way pretty nicely into a patron deck, to be honest. The fact that it only costs 1 mana means on turn 6 or 7, you go ahead and patron, Tentacle, Whirlwind. and then it'll actually the Death Rattle will trigger. I'm not sure what will trigger first, the Whirlwind or the Death Rattle. I'm assuming the Whirlwind would trigger first because the Whirlwind has to go before this dies. So the Whirlwind triggers, kills this, and then the Death Rattle triggers, because the Death Rattle obviously wouldn't trigger before.
So, like,
Whirlwind.
if you had one patron and a N'Zoth out, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it'll actually make 4 patrons.
Yeah, it would.
So
because
it count, yeah.
Whirlwind would make 2, and then the Death Rattle from that would make 2 more.
So I see Patron in its future. It also, anti-aggro, it reminds me of like a lesser of a sheep, because Explosive Sheep is a 2-drop, 1/1, deal 2 damage to all minions, and this does 1. So it's like...
Even in the Freeze Mage matchup, like against something like... if you like, let's say you ran this instead of Sheep in Freeze Mage.
I wouldn't run this instead of Sheep. Actually, Sheep is GVG as well, I think.
Yeah,
all right,
so it's
never
going
mind.
out.
Okay.
So this might end up being a pretty decent replacement across a couple different decks.
Yeah, so where you'd play Sheep, you'd play Tentacle. Also, it adds to the cards that come out of Mounted Raptor. So keep that in mind. So all of these cards that, like other cards have the potential to die and then bring back cards, such as like Ram Wrangler. So the more beasts they add to Hunter class, like the huge fucking Sandworm that makes Ram Wrangler better. This, it could in fact hurt us, because if it comes out of Mounted Raptor and it's going to deal 1 damage to all your creatures.
You're playing some sort of aggro deck with
so
like what's it, the little fucking Grootlings,
exactly.
Saplings. Yeah. So yeah, it's also and Wild would also be pretty decent counter to like Muster for Battle.
Yeah, well, Muster for Battle's leaving us, Tony. But in Wild mode, you
That's
mean.
what I said.
Oh, okay, my bad. All right. So the next card is...
Hallazeal the Ascended. It is a 5-drop 4/6 Shaman Legendary. I'm actually relatively excited for this. Whenever your spells deal damage, you restore that much health to your hero. At first, you're like, okay, well, Lightning Bolt, you know, it's 6 mana with this. You deal 3 damage, you gain 3 health. And then it's like, okay, Shaman has a lot of AoE, though. They have Lightning Storm, they have Elemental Destruction.
I call it Chain Lightning.
You call it Chain Lightning. Yeah, it's because you actually played Shaman in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But with, let's say, Lightning Storm. Let's say they have 4 creatures on the field.
Lightning.
It's Lightning Storm, you nerd. Okay. So they have 4 creatures on the field. You Lightning Storm onto the 4 cards. You're going to get at least 8 health, and at most you're going to get 12 health, and possibly clear the field.
Numbers. I'm just making money.
Spewing out random numbers. For 8 mana, you can possibly clear board of a very, let's say they're playing an aggro board that has very low cost creatures. You can clear board and heal up for 8 to 12 on 4 creatures. Or this thing also lives to Elemental Destruction, which I think is pretty intelligent design for them. You play this, and then for another 3 mana, you play Elemental Destruction.
The stats are good.
The stats are very solid. Even in like Arena, like a 5-drop 4/5 is solid stats.
If it was a 6/4, it would be much worse. But
yeah.
The fact that it's a 4/6, it can make basically trades with any 3, 4, or 5-drop and not die, which is really, really important. And it also has a decent effect.
So, I mean, I see this. It's possibly going to be in something like I've seen people say that they'd play this in aggro, but I feel like it's too slow for aggro.
Definitely not.
It's such a good step in the direction of control Shaman, because there's not a lot of great later game cards for Shaman, especially 5-drops.
Yeah,
aside from Doomsayer, what do you have that's a 5-drop?
It reminds me of like the Reno Jackson of the Shaman, because you go ahead, if you're playing like, let's say Malagos Shaman, they add like another spell for Shaman classes so they can replace Crackle. You play, Malagos Shaman, like I mentioned. Malagos doesn't even really need to be out for this guy. It's more so a field clear, heal up. So on turn 8, like Tony mentioned, you go ahead, you play this guy, you go ahead and Elemental Destruction, Chain Lightning, and then you Lava Shock if you had ED, which is Elemental Destruction, so you can unload your mana crystals. But for the most part, I see this guy with Elemental Destruction healing yourself for at least 15 to 25 in 1 turn for 8 mana. And he's also going to live through it too, so they're going to have to waste another card to get rid of it. Whether they're playing a Druid or a Mage where they can just ping it down, they're still going to have to use mana to get rid of it. On top of that, keep in mind
solid tempo play too.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that Healbot's leaving us. So Healbot, that card is found in a variety of decks. Whether you're playing Reno, you're playing Freeze Mage, if you're playing Echo, it's just a really solid 5-drop heal 8. And because they're taking out Antique Healbot, they need to add other forms of heal in the game. I mean, we have Earthen Ring Farseer, and
but still, it's only 3 for 3.
It's 3 mana. They also added a Paladin card, which we haven't got to. That's a healing card as well. So I think that Shaman, I mean, we already had Healing Wave, which is, I guess, really, really good. But the fact that they keep giving Shaman more healing cards tells me they're trying to push it in the direction of not so much aggro, but control. But on top of that, it's going to be hard to be able to balance the control Shaman, because if they add more direct damage spells, they're literally just replacing Crackle with those cards, and Aggro Shaman is always going to be it's always going to be better than the Control Shaman. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of Shaman cards they release, because they're going to have to be wary of what really is going to affect the Aggro Shaman, because you can't just make Aggro Shaman too good. Because right now,
it's pretty good.
Heading into the new meta, I think Aggro Shaman is going to be at least, again, tier 1, tier 2 deck.
The only thing it's really losing is Crackle.
Yeah. I mean, that's not really much for a deck to lose.
And they're probably going to replace it with something else. So don't want to make it too OP.
Exactly. All right. So heading on to our next card is going to be the... Did you go? Yeah, you did that one.
Yeah.
We're going to go to First Mate, and he is a 1/1/1 pirate, which I really like, and we'll get into that in a second. It's a warrior card, and it says Battlecry equipped a 1/3 Rusty Hook.
I like this card. This is actually, surprisingly, one of my favorites to come out of this new set.
He doesn't exactly, I mean, the picture of him doesn't scream pirate, to be honest. I don't see a pirate's hat. And
he's holding...
He's a bug.
He has a hook arm riding on top of a bug. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, so I like the fact that it's a pirate, though. Pirates have been around since Vanilla, which was the classic set of Hearthstone. They haven't really made it into a deck that can perform really well. Like, Pirate has always been... Yeah, Pirate Rogue it's kind of like a gimmick deck. I've actually seen some guy hit Legend with Pirate Rogue because he was trolling. I don't know how he did it, but he was able to do it. But, I mean, if you see Pirate Rogue, it's like seeing, like I mentioned before, like a deer on the highway. If you see it, it's probably just dead on the side. It's not really doing much.
Rip.
So, I mean, I think it'll see play in specific decks, maybe, but it's hard to say again until we see all the cards and if they add more pirate synergy. But I like the fact that it's a pirate. I like the hook. I like the 1/1/1, which seems to be a stat that they keep pushing along with the tentacle.
Yeah. One thing I want to add to this is that the synergy that it's having towards like more aggressive face warrior decks is you're getting a weapon and a 1/1 body on the floor. Now, like, imagine that weapon equipped with upgrade. For 2 mana on turn 1, you can play this, coin, upgrade, and give yourself a 1/1 and a 2/4 weapon.
But normally you'd use upgrade on like a Arcane Reaper, so it actually puts in 6 damage instead of just putting
6 and then 3, so actually 18 total. But I mean, for a solid early game, I mean, if you're just trying to push like some decent tempo, a 2/4 weapon and a 1/1 on turn 1 is pretty cool.
I don't know.
In an arena, this will be a good card. This will be a really good card for them in arena. There are
I'm
no
surprised
solid
they didn't
1-drops.
make it a rogue card, to be honest. A warrior is very surprising. But, I mean, warrior also has some synergy with the Bloodsail Raider, I believe it's called. But anyway, that's enough of this common pirate. Let's head on to Faceless Shambler.
Faceless Shambler is a 4-drop 1/1 with taunt, and its battle cry says copy a friendly minion's attack and health. I don't see this really being in many decks. The only decks that I can actually see this working in is something like Handlock. You have a bunch of big creatures you can bring out relatively early. So let's say you get down to that sweet...
Get down
to the free Molten Giant mark. You play Molten Giant if you have another one, and then you can play this to then copy your Molten Giant's stats for like, all of 4 mana. You can get 8/8, 8/8, and an 8/8 with taunt for 4 mana. That seems pretty cool, like that. But that's like literally the only deck I can imagine this being in. There's not many cards worth copying stats, especially around that mark. It'd be a card that you hold on to until later, and it's not like you can copy any. It's only your minions too, so you have to have some sort of board presence. It's not a win more card, but it requires some sort of setup. And the fact of something living worth copying, like having something worth copying that actually has lived for more than a turn, it's probably going to be difficult to pull off, which is why I think only combo.
And then if it does live, it'll probably have taken damage by then. And it says copy a friendly minion's attack and health, which means not its base attack and health, the attack and health it has at the time of which this card is played.
Yeah.
On top of that, it's really, really prone to Earth Shock. It's just like a Twilight Drake. So if they actually Earth Shock this, it just dies. So you spent 4 mana and they were able to get rid of it with 1 mana. And any form of silence as well. I mean, it takes away the taunt, takes away the battle cry.
Because it doesn't transform it either. It says copy and doesn't say something like transform, like Faceless Manipulator would.
Yeah, so got to be careful about that. I really don't see it being that great. But again, all this is speculation, guys. I'm sure we're wrong, definitely, on some of these cards. I mean, when Mysterious Challenger, like we've mentioned before, a lot of the pro players didn't think Mysterious Challenger was going to be a good card. They're like playing one of every secret in the Paladin deck. They only cost 1 mana. They're not even good. It's not going to Mysterious Challenger, bad card. It was literally put in trash almost every single revealed they had.
And so was Reno Jackson.
Yep. So we're heading into one of the gods that they revealed not too long ago, N'Zoth the Corruptor. It's a 10-drop, 5/7 battle cry. Summon your Death Rattle minions that died this game. So it specifies your Death Rattle minions, so it's not all of them. I'm not sure how it's going to order these in which it's going to summon them. So let's say, like, as we know, anything, it's just random whatever Murlocs it summons. This guy could be like first come, first serve, or it again could be the same mechanic as anything. I'm not really sure behind that. But for 10 mana, 5/7 price, can't be BGH. So the stats they're not really good, but at least it gets it out of BGH range. Definitely a control deck card. I honestly just don't see it. I think the effect is cool. I think I like the picture. I like his name. I don't.
The golden animations.
I would never play this in my deck.
The thing is, so many good Death Rattle cards are leaving Standard. So, like, the only place I can really see this might be in Wild, where you have your Shredders, you have your Sneasel Shredder, you have maybe Piloted Sky Golem, Chill Malls, like things like that would have a solid Death Rattle that would be worth bringing back. Yeah. But in Standard, we're losing so many solid cards. Solid. One of the best 4-drops is going Piloted Shredder. That's definitely a card worth bringing back. A 4-attack creature that gives you usually a 2-attack creature. Like, those are worth bringing back. But I don't see many good Death Rattle cards that would be worth filling your deck with and then playing this to bring them back. So
yeah, I don't feel like playing a whole deck for Death Rattles to potentially bring them all back in one turn. So your opponent, like, let's say they set up a 2-turn lethal on you. You spend 10 mana to develop an entire board. Let's say none of them have taunt or one of them have taunt. I mean, you gave your opponent a pretty good win condition there with only, like, I just don't see it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think for a god card, it should be better.
Yeah. Also, it's minions that already have Death Rattle. So even if you give them something that's Death Rattle, it's not going to bring that back. Like, what is it? The Resurrect or whatever the one that brings it back when it dies.
Ancestral Recall, I believe.
Whatever that is, yeah. So, like, it's not even doesn't even work on things like that. It has to be cards that's text say Death Rattle.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to the next card,
Undercity Huckster. There it is. It's a 2-drop 2/2 Death Rattle.
We can bring it back.
Oh boy! Add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class. So it kind of it's like Burgle. You only get one card. Mentioned. Yeah, you did mention that when we were discussing this card earlier. It's like a Burgle, but only one card, and you get a 2/2 body. I think in Arena, I think this would be a good card to be able to get, be able to fill the hand. It might be pretty cool in Arena. I don't see it really being a decent constructed card because, I don't know.
In Arena, it's better than like a Thought Steal, because Thought Steal takes cards out of your opponent's deck. But in Arena, we know the opponent's decks aren't that great. So taking it from your opponent's class in Arena is better. You can
get like a Tyrion
because you can get better cards.
Hands or...
but in actually... the ladder play, taking it from your opponent's class isn't as great as taking it from their deck, because as we know in ladder, most people's decks are, really good and they put their best cards in there
exactly.
from those classes. So I would say in Arena, this guy is better in Arena and not so much for ranked play.
Yeah, and also, are there any solid rogue 2-drops out there, like creatures?
I mean, Cutthroat is...
the Cut Purse guy.
Yeah, Cut Purse guy comes to mind, but besides that, I mean, not really.
And that card is even better for Arena. I feel like they made this card with Arena in mind, which is fine because they have to balance Arena too. Yeah. It's very important.
All right, so heading into the next card, we have Renounce Darkness.
It's my least favorite card.
Yeah, it looks pretty fucking bad in my opinion. It's a 2-drop. Replace your hero power and warlock cards with another classes. The cards cost 1 less. So, first of all, this should be a priest card because priests, as we know, take other people's classes and cards and all that shit. And I would assume, like, why would you want to change your warlock passive? It's already really good. And then the warlock cards in your hand, like, why would you want why not priest cards, but why would you want another class's cards? It's like, a priest's job is to steal other people's cards. It's not the warlock's. And if you're going to be playing a warlock deck and put warlock cards in your deck, obviously they're in there for a reason, whether for the deck archetype or just good in general. So randomly picking up another class, let's say you get fucking Warrior Shield Slam, like, you're never going to be able to use that card. You spent not only a card generating new cards, but you also...
Or you get Shaman.
Yeah, you have the, like,
if you get Shaman, it's just like, okay, you're done.
Yeah, so I just don't see the fucking point of this card, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It just seems complete trash epic to me. Like, when you open a pack and you're excited that you got an epic, and then you see this shit, it just pisses me off, because that guy, there's nothing good going on.
I don't even know what's going on with the animation, really.
It's like a red little ball on his, like, below...
tummy.
Yeah, tummy chest, where his belly button is. He's, like, all excited, because he's, like,
giant. The only thing that's kind of cool about the card is that it costs 1 less, but that's what Emperor is for.
Yeah.
So it's just, and it's only the class cards. It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's too random. Like, it's just so...
It's like gimmicky. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only reason. Or if you manage to only get Warlock and Arena. Oh, God. This one. I think, is it your turn or my turn?
It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay, the Boogeymonster, the most recently announced legendary card as of this video. It is an 8-drop, 6/7. Whenever this minion attacks and destroys another minion, it gains +2/+2. At first, you're like, oh, okay, so it's kind of has like that gruel mechanic where it grows over time. But then you realize, whenever it attacks and destroys a minion, meaning minions trading into it and dying, doesn't set it off. And also, it has 7 health for 8 mana.
Why would you just not play Ragnaros?
Yeah, seriously. Why would you not?
Like,
there's
Ragnaros-
so many better 8-drop legendaries.
Yeah, it's like Ragnaros has immediate effect. You play this guy, granted he can't get BGH'd, but...
That is one interesting part about it.
I mean, just play Chromagus. Chromagus is a 6/8, and the next turn you automatically generate an additional card from Chromagus. This guy, what the fuck are you trying to accomplish, man?
I mean, at best, the
like,
next
give
turn,
him best case scenario.
Best case scenario is
You give him
have,
Whirlwind.
You have
Or Wind Fury. Not
yeah,
Whirlwind.
Wind Fury, or some way to attack immediately, some way to get haste charge.
Tony
I
keeps
play
saying
Magic, and
haste.
so I say haste instead of charge. I'm sorry.
I'm like, you wanted to cast spells faster?
Yeah, if you're a WoW player. I don't know. It's just so bad. Best case scenario, you can give it. It actually lives till next turn. You can give
best
it
case scenario.
Best case
400 dust.
Best case scenario is 400 dust. I don't know. I don't like this card at all. Arena, it might be okay, but the chances of getting a legendary in Arena are so slim anyway. So it's just, it seems like
for 8 mana, it's a steep cost. If it was like, I mean, I even think of what is it called? It's a 5-drop 4/4. Whenever you inspire, gain 2/2.
Oh, the Cavaldier Raider or whatever.
Yeah, so like at least that card, you're granted 2/2 every single turn without having to attack into a creature. Because when you attack into the creature, this guy's by turn 8, you know the other player's playing decent creatures as well. So whatever trade you're gonna make is probably gonna decrease this guy's health to at least
against a Tyrion. He's so done. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just bad.
Yeah, it's not fun.
All right, we have Forbidden Healing. This is a 0-drop spell. It's a paladin card, and it says spend all of your mana, restore health for twice that amount. So like we've mentioned before, Healbot is leaving us. So because of Healbot leaving us,
is Lay on Hands a classic card as well?
Yeah. But I think they're focusing on healing as much healing as they are because
how important Antique is.
Yeah, they like Antique Healbot is played so much. And a lot of decks are so dependent on it that they have to fill the gap somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think Forbidden Healing and the Shaman card are doing just that. I like this card, to be honest. It's not too broken, but I mean, let's say you're going against an aggro deck. It's turning anywhere between 6 to 10. You heal yourself. It can 12 to 20 heals, depending on if you're turn 6 through turn 10.
Yeah.
The fact that it costs 0 mana allows you to fit it in wherever necessary,
Yeah.
so you're not bound to one spot like Lay on Hands, where it only fits in that turn 8 slot.
This is the third 0-cost spell like this we've seen that fills that mana?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, with the mage that deals damage to a creature, based on how much mana you have left, what was the other one? Priest. Oh yeah, so it's like their unstable portal, summon a random minion for that cost.
Yeah.
And now there's this, which is, it's okay. I like it. I think it'll be decent for like control type decks that needs sustainability.
Yeah, but they already have Lay on Hands, which is weird for them to give this to Paladin.
Yeah.
But I think Paladin, as we know, they're very heal intensive. Like in the game itself, they're known as healers. So them getting a lot of healing spells isn't too surprising. So moving on to the next card.
Brood of N'Zoth. It is a 3-drop 2/2. Stats aren't great. This Death Rattle is kind of cool. This would be a fun minion to pull in Arena. Death Rattle, give your minions +1/+1. So it's good if you already have some presence on the board. You can make a trade with that, buff your other creatures and make more trades or do more face damage, whatever the case may be. I like this card, but only in Arena. I don't really know where it would fit into some sort of constructed deck. Mainly when I play Arena, which is why I like to talk about how they fit in Arena.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like it. It's okay for a common. I like it.
I like
That's
it.
all I can say about it. Is
It reminds me, it's a Death Rattle is Power of the Wild, which Power of the Wild is a Druid card and it costs 2 mana and it says give your creatures +1/+1 or summon a 3/2 Panther with Stealth or some shit like that.
Also, what I didn't think of is something like Consecrate. If it dies to Consecrate, it has potential to save your other creatures. Because when I think it might work something kind of like, no, it ought to be dead. Never mind. You know how Avenge can save creatures after death?
Yep. I know. Oh, too well.
I was thinking it might do something like that, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the interaction on that. But Power of the Wild, like I was mentioning, costs 2 mana, and this guy's 3 mana. So essentially, you have 1 mana left because he costs 3. So you're paying 1 mana for a 2/2, which doesn't really feel that bad unless he gets silenced of some sort. So he's not terrible. He's not fantastic. I'm sure there'll be a deck that he fits in quite well.
It might be a good way to have them bait out some sort of silence, an early silence baiter.
Yeah, I feel like this guy is going to be good in any deck that floods the board. So I feel like Token Druid, Aggro Druid, Zoo, Warlock, things that have a lot of creatures so you can get the +1/+1 as much as possible.
And then this should be our last card, right?
Yep, our last card is Herald. 1 second, all right? our last card is Herald. I don't even know.
Herald Volazj.
Volazj, and he is a 6-drop, 5/5 battle cry. Summon a 1/1 copy of each of your other minions. Did you go over the last card, or did I? I have no fucking idea.
You did. Okay. No. I did. Yeah, I did. Yes. I talked about it a little bit.
All right. So first thing that comes to mind is like Sylvanas the Windrunner. So you can go ahead and summon a 1/1 version of her, and then she's going to go ahead and be able to take another card, which is quite nice. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
That or like Tharzan.
Tharzan would be really cool. The fact that they're 1/1s and they copy
anything that has maybe a solid death rattle on it, like Sylvanas might be worth, because there's not many cards that activate.
Come into a blank.
Yeah, I mean, because there's not many cards that have a good like at the end of the turn do something that would get this would get
Ysera,
media.
Rag, Sylvanas, where there's more cards. There's more cards.
Maybe even like a Malygos to boost some spell power, but
Malygos.
Or Velen. It is a priest card, so Velen you can if you have a Velen out, you get another Velen. Therefore, it would quadruple your spell damage and healing. So that's actually kind of cool.
It also can combo with Bran.
Oh yeah! Wow. So there might be some interesting plays. It would be a very fun kind of like, I guess it would be like control mid-rangey kind of priest.
I don't see it though. It's a cool card, and it definitely allows for a lot of awesome combos. And if you set it up and you're able to pull
but it's
off,
a win more kind of card.
Yeah, you have to have the cards on the field when it's played. The cards that on the field have to be able to be have to combo with this, so it can't just be like a normal vanilla card. It can't just be like a normal battle card because whatever card it summons, either you're going to get the benefit if it's a death rattle and or a card that does some active ability every turn like Rag or Ysera. So to have one of those cards on the field already, you're in a pretty good position in the game.
Yeah.
And then when you play this guy, it makes another one, It's kind of it reminds me of Win More, but it's not always a Win More, as the 1/1s can become a nuisance for your opponent just to get rid of in general.
Right.
But again,
it makes some decent targets for them to have to deal with. So
yeah, I don't necessarily. I like Paletris more. I just like Paletris so much. It's RNG Mastermind, but it's not so crazy RNG because the cost on her and the stats on her enable her to like summon something really big, and it doesn't feel as bad because she's a turn 9 play.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's 7.
Because she's only a 5/4. Like, she's so easy to remove off the board that if most of the time she's...
Swipe, Death Bite. I mean, there's so many cards that kill her.
So, I mean, I really don't see this guy being too crazy, to be honest. But it is a cool ability nonetheless. So we'll see what happens when the expansion hits and how he does.
I just realized I said Death Bite. That's leaving in Nax.
It is.
Rip Patron Warrior.
I didn't want to say anything. I'm
more.
very sad about this as a Warrior player. Okay, guys. So sorry about the small interruption we had. Hopefully you've enjoyed the cards that we've revealed so far and what we've had to say about them. If there's anything you want to add that we didn't exactly hit on, or you've got some cool combinations of Herald that we couldn't think of off the top of our head,
or any of the other cards,
yeah, feel free to let us know in the comment section below. We always enjoy reading those. As always, I'm Warshack.
I'm Tony.
And happy whatever the hell day it is.